That was touchdown right there. Yeah. I feel helpless when it comes to my children. It's like baseball only, Dad. You know what I mean? And then I can't do anything. I can't speak on their agenda.
Davion Hampton is a father, a Sanford business owner, and community activist fighting to restore voting rights to convicted felons like himself, or, as they like to be called, returning citizens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amendment 4, man. We out here.
In Florida, a felony conviction permanently strips your ability to vote as a result of the state's constitution that was written 150 years ago.
I was in shock. I was in shock. I absolutely thought something like this couldn't even happen, because my mom was rallying all us up, all her boys to get out and vote for President Barack Obama. And out of 5 boys, I was the only one that couldn't vote. He got a touchdown, and next thing you know, and just run out of bounds. And ain't been back since.
Yeah.
I really didn't see the sincerity of it or the importance of it. I was like, well, whatever. And as time went on, I realized, I got children here that go to school in Seminole County, and I can't represent them in any kind of way of saying who would be over their agenda here at Seminole County School Board or Commissioners.
Davion served 3 years in state prison for conspiracy to traffic cocaine. He is on a 7-year wait to apply for his civil rights, which would allow him to vote, sit on a jury, or hold an elected office. Davion is on year 6.
When Amendment 4 passed, I still won't be able to get my rights back to vote at the time because I'm still trying to work to get the money to pay the fines off that I had over my head.
In jail, they basically take all your rights away. You can't even do nothing. It affects everything from credit scores to getting jobs to housing to everything. Trust me, it's hard to get out of it. Okay?
Roughly a quarter of the nation's 6 million disenfranchised felons live in Florida. A person convicted of a felony can wait for 10 years or more to get their rights restored through the clemency system. But that could change this fall if at least 60% of voters say yes to Amendment 4. Amendment 4 will automatically restore the right to vote for people with prior felony convictions after they've completed their sentences, which includes prison, parole, and probation. The amendment does not apply to people convicted of murder or felony sexual offenses.
I'm here at the State Capitol building in Tallahassee today, where one of the quarterly clemency hearings is taking place. Now, a person has to wait on average anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on their crime, just to submit the application so that they can have a chance to be here in Tallahassee to be heard before the Clemency Board. It's a very long wait for a lot of citizens to get to this point, and there's no guarantee that their rights will be restored.
I fell victim to a con man, and he showed me the art of cocaine. And from there, it all went downhill for 2 years. For a 2-year period in my life, from 1997 to 1999, I lost everything, including my dignity and every possession I had worked my entire life for. I am in charge of fundraising to send kids to summer camp. We are staunch supporters.
You've done a great job. I moved to Grant Restoration.
Agree.
You guys are awesome. Thanks.
Deborah Myers is 59 years old and lives in Tampa. She hasn't voted in at least 25 years.
Did you ever have any fear that you might not make it this day?
Absolutely. Because of what I've done and what my past is and what my record was, you always want to think that you're the bad guy and you don't deserve, and obviously somebody thinks that I do, and I'm very pleased and very grateful for that.
I come today to ask for mercy in front of the magistrate because I was a young man who had a problem. I've been going since I was 14. I was bouncing from foster home to foster home.
I've been doing this for almost 8 years. I've never had anybody have 67 stops by police.
I am a truck driver by trade. I have a clean driving record. And for the record, I haven't had no kind of negative interaction when it comes to law enforcement at all. I work, come home, I take care of my business.
You were convicted of cocaine.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you've got, okay. All right. Thank you. Let me look at him.
Not everyone who applies for their civil rights has to attend a clemency hearing. But for those who do, it can be an emotional and nerve-wracking experience.
Embezzling a letter and taking a Discover credit card? Okay. And did you do it?
Yes.
Okay.
I just believe that when people understand that, you know, they was on the wrong side of the law, they go through a tedious process in correcting that. They understand that they can't reoffend, and they know what they've gone through. So I just believe that because of when folk receive a pardon, they are less likely to reoffend.
The Office of Executive Clemency was established to help process cases in 1975. Since then, multiple governors enacted 18 amendments and revisions to address the overwhelming caseload in Florida. Rick Scott didn't break Florida's system, but he aggravated the issue by implementing a wait list. In fact, former Governor Reuben Askew granted civil rights back to 21,799 convicted felons during 2 terms in the 1970s. For comparison, Scott granted rights back to less than 3,500 convicted felons through 2 terms, which ends in 2018.
You know, the way to solve that problem is for the state to devote more resources to processing those cases. You need more staff people to review those files and conduct whatever investigation is going to be conducted. And you need a clemency board that's willing to either meet more frequently or devote more time to the process so that those cases can work through the system.
Tampa-based attorney Richard Harrison heads up an organization called the Floridians for Sensible Voting Rights Policy. He plans to vote no to Amendment 4.
We're not against clemency. We are against the proposition that all 1.5 million felons in Florida have changed their lives around, so they ought to be handed a voter registration card on the way out of the prison door, which is what this amendment does.
If you were to meet a convicted felon who says, I paid for my time because I was in prison, I know I never want to go back, and they want to get their voting rights back, and they want to be a productive member of society, what would you tell that person about Amendment 4?
If you're telling me your life's changed, but you're hanging out with the same bad people that you got in trouble with the first time, I might have a hard time believing you. If, on the other hand, you're telling me you're working with a youth group, you're the pastor of your church, you've gone back to school, you're working, you're doing things that are not like what got you in trouble the first time, you've got a better case.
I know you mentioned the church and becoming a youth pastor. Are you a man of faith?
I have an Italian mother and an Irish father, so as you might imagine, I grew up in a very Catholic household. I believe in the power of forgiveness, and I believe in the redemption of souls.
So you believe God forgives?
I do.
So if God forgives, then why can't man forgive?
We'll leave forgiveness up to God. At the state level, we've got some rules.
Over 1,000 formerly incarcerated citizens from across the country gathered in Orlando this September for a national conference. They were here in part to help support the campaign for Amendment 4. Florida joins Iowa, Kentucky, and Virginia, where felons permanently lose their voice in the election process.
We view this as an everybody issue, so we think it transcends right and left and political party, and so I go into all kinds of different communities. I went to Trump rallies to get petitions signed. I go to Trump events and Republican events and conservative events all the time.
Thanks for being here. It's great to see so many people involved in this.
And you see the breadth of support for Amendment 4 and for second chances when you walk into a room or you have a conversation with somebody and you realize that deep down, we all support second chances.
It helps
by restoring the rights to eligible voters. People who cannot vote, they will be able to vote. With your vote will be my voice.
For all our people, man. Say yes to Amendment 4, man.
White men make up the majority of the convicted felon population in Florida, but black men are disproportionately impacted. Currently, 1 in 5 black men are unable to vote.
Go out, vote November the 6th, man. We need you. Your vote count, man. I can't vote. I need you. I ain't gonna keep beating on the doors. Well, here, leave that card, bro. Leave the card on her.
After the Civil War ended, the 15th Amendment granted voting rights to black men in 1870. But many states created felony voting bans, among other oppressive laws, to help suppress black votes. It wasn't until the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965 that many blacks realized America's promise.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in canvassing for Amendment 4?
People that don't care. Like I say, A, either they don't want to hear it, or B, it's something that don't concern them and their immediate needs, so actually they don't want to hear it. So it's just trying to get the people to really hear about it. No, I ain't asking you to vote.
I just heard that over there.
Okay then, well, as long as somebody got to you. Thank God. Yes, ma'am, I appreciate you. I know you didn't want to hear me. I know you was finna run from me, but you gotta hear me.
I ain't working with your trying to get it washed.
I know you're trying to get it washed and it's hot, but...
A handful of politicians have tried to change the system through legislation. Jeb Bush and Rick Scott have even been sued to change Florida's clemency process.
We know that Florida is an outlier and our system is broken. We all know this.
But Desmond Meade led the first successful citizen campaign to get voting restoration rights on the ballot. One measure that helped his campaign was disqualifying those convicted of murder and sex crimes.
There are so many people throughout this state, you know, some of you all might know some of them, that if we keep this broken system that we have, would die before they get to experience full citizenship again. And that bothers me because I know that...
For people who don't know, you went to law school at Florida International University. Why did you decide to stay in Florida instead of move and be able to use your law degree?
I thought about how in the days of slavery, all a slave had to do was escape to cross an imaginary line to get freedom. And I thought that no American citizen should have to escape another state to be able to experience freedoms of democracy. Not in 2018, not in 2017, not in the 2000s. They should not have to escape. We're beyond that now. And so I decided that I was not going to escape Florida and go to the other 46 other states to experience the freedoms of democracy. I was going to stay here and I was going to fight right along with my other brothers and sisters in Florida who have served their time paying their debt.
The bottom line is, with this amendment, we're not saying change the punishment. We're saying after they've already endured the punishment, after they've already paid their debt, after the system, which we think is already broken, after the system has said they've done enough, why are we excluding them? Why are we keeping them out of society?
Do you feel as though this measure would pass?
I don't think that it's going to pass. First of all, Florida is extremely divided politically, as you know. Getting 60% of voters in Florida to agree on anything is practically impossible. I don't believe the polls. If we believe the polls, Hillary Clinton would be our president today.
Let's rock this. We can do it. We got it this far. We can take it across the finish line. We can be a shining example for what's right in this country.
6.1 million Americans lost their right to vote because of felony convictions. Over 1 million of those people alone live in Florida. 2,275 convicted felons live in Seminole County. 590 convicted felons live in Sanford. To put that in perspective, just 537 Florida votes decided the 2000 presidential election for George W. Bush. Restoring voting rights to convicted felons means that every vote matters.
I paid everything back, and I would just like to say, that's been 23 years ago, and since that time, sir, I've accomplished getting my master's degree. I have 27 credits towards my doctorate degree, and the reason I'm asking for a full pardon because one day I might want to run for governor like you did.
All right, I move to grant a full pardon.
Agreed. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
your run.
I might need to help you run for Senate. I see your commercials. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, thank you.
People with felony convictions have made successful runs for public office after having their civil rights restored.
To make the difference, because today starts early voting.
Regina Hill was first elected as an Orlando City Councilwoman in 2014 with prior felony convictions.
OTC towing.
Sanford business owner Mario Hicks ran for a city commissioner seat with 4 felony convictions on his record, dating back to when he was 18 years old.
And I am the direct product of that somebody changing their life and being able to inspire people that look like me.
He ultimately lost the race, but Hicks said he will run again.
Knowing and understanding the system in America, a black man like myself is 6 times more likely to be taken in jail, racially profiled, killed than any other race in America. You know, after going through slavery, after seeing Trayvon Martin, experiencing that here, right here in Sanford, you want to see some real change. You want to be a part of the movement that says we will not accept this in the city of Sanford anymore.
Davion's hometown of Sanford is evolving. More schools, more land developers, and more infrastructure are coming. But without the ability to vote, people like him don't have a say about any of it.
I think Amendment 4 would be one of the best things that could happen to any community in Florida that's similar to Goldsboro and Midway and Georgetown. Because we still got a lot of people left over in Sanford that lived in the projects when the projects were here. And I would say 75% of the people that lived in the project were felons. And they're still here. But they are not employed. They don't have their own businesses. If Amendment 4 passes, it would help communities like Sanford, like Goldsboro, Midway, and Georgetown. And you say, well, how would that happen? Just giving them their rights to vote? No, but when you give them their rights to vote, then you give them their rights to go out and look for a job, maybe get a job, because I believe once Amendment 4 passes, you are a felon, but you got your rights back, okay, which will give you a chance to apply for a second chance job.
I done it. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised in this community right here. And peer pressure, it got to me.
I always want to help people, but becoming a community activist of this sort of fighting for rights and restoration of rights, I never seen it coming.
Right there. I appreciate that, bro. Respect. Respect, man. All around every neighborhood, knocking on the door. We reached 80,000 people in one day. Within 4 hours.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And I am glad that I'm part of this fight. I'm glad that I'm going to be part of many more fights to come in the future. And I will stand up and do what's right to change the landscape of my community.
Good job, good job, good job, fella. Good job.
His whole life has just changed. She's always told me a lot not to get in trouble because you will turn into a nobody. I just want to show him that I own it to him and trust him and forgive him for the mistake that he's made. And now I see now he's a changed man.
Davion's 20-year-old son, Tyreek, will vote for the first time this fall.
It means a lot because I know my dad, he can't really vote. So like my vote's gonna matter for him. I just do that for him, and I know it's gonna mean a lot for him and much as for me too.
Do you feel confident that this will pass?
It's not a political issue, it became a people's problem. Prison, to me, was a bad experience with good results, and I capitalized from it. And I capitalized from being told no, 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 no. And it makes me basically want to be more and more and more involved now. You know, by being told no, it pushes me to have a voice. I don't have a vote, but I have a voice.